Hello, hello, everyone. This is our weekly money chat, and I'm so excited for those of you who are watching. I'm really excited to talk about the topic today about setting really, really big goals or having really, really big desires, more specifically, and like how to handle the mindset work around that. So for those of you who don't know me, I'm Eleanor Prisco. I work as a money and mindset coach, and I absolutely love supporting folks in becoming financially empowered individuals and being able to achieve the financial reality that they desire, right? Whether that mean more time freedom, more financial freedom, it can look different for each person. Sometimes it's around personal money, sometimes it's around business money, sometimes it's both, right? But it's always going to be including financial strategy, and it's always going to be including that mindset work. And so I want to talk today because something that's been coming up in my own reflections, right? And also in my spaces is really this thought process around you having a huge desire, right? And bumping up against some of these beliefs or potentially disbeliefs, doubts, shame, guilt of like having these huge wants, right? They feel like wants. They're like, I want more than enough. I want to have these, mansions. I want to build $1 million business. I want to be a millionaire. I want to have hundreds of thousands of dollars. I want to have designer handbags, designer clothes, sending kids to private school, being able to fully pay for college for them, right? There's like all of these things that are desires and they feel like excess, right? It kind of makes you feel like, oh my gosh, like who am I to want all these things when there's so much more than what is necessary, right? Than what like society has told me is necessary. And it kind of creates these really sticky feelings of, oh, maybe like I'm a greedy person. Maybe I want too much. Maybe I'm like this like rich bitch, like really sticky feelings of feeling uncomfortable about wanting so much. So let me know if that is resonating with you in the comments, right? Let me know if you've bumped into some of these sticky feelings when it comes to thinking about the financial desires you have, the financial goals that you have, whether that be in your personal life or your business, right? So, it's really important to like reflect on this and to understand like, oh, okay, like, is this feeling sticky to me? Am I allowed to want this? Am I allowed to, want to achieve this? And so I really want to invite you into this reframe that I have been going through myself, right? As I've looked at these new levels that I want to achieve in my business, that I want to achieve in my own financial success, that I want to achieve with the goals that I've outlined for this year, right? For myself. And I think it's a reframe that can work at really any level that you're at when it comes to the financial goals that you're setting out for yourself and really help you combat those feelings of like, oh, it's wrong for me to want so much more than what others may have, right? I'm seeing, can you speak on the cyclical stickiness and lack as related to the moon cycle? Is that a thing? Ooh, how interesting. So I'm seeing this in the comments, and I am not familiar with a cyclical nature of stickiness and lack being related to the moon cycle, but I could actually see that as a thing. I will speak to the fact that like I have gone through the process with a number of my clients of reflecting actually on their cycles and how they feel towards their money with their cycles. And since a lot of times people's cycles can line up with the moon cycle, that could also have an impact. I know, for instance, some of my clients can have like a high level of like financial stress right before menstruation starts. And what we've kind of identified within that is that like it's almost like their nervous system is saying like, I desire rest during during your period, during menstruation, right? It's like, I desire that rest. So it's almost like they're like, we need to make sure that we have revenue so that we can experience that rest. So it, like, as a mindset aspect, it's just like reminding your body and nervous system that like potentially you've built up stability into your financial systems, and that it's like completely okay and safe to take a break during your menstrual cycle. So I think that has definitely come up for some of my clients. I think it's different for each person, but it definitely could be a reflection of like thinking through like what is like reflecting for an entire cycle, whether it be on your menstrual cycle or the moon cycle, and like thinking through, oh, do I have these ebbs and flows of how I relate to money and how I feel in relation to money? I know that also that can like seasonally impact a number of my clients. And like, we've done like analysis of like, oh, okay, like let's look at your past few years of business. When do you make more money? When do you make less money, right? Like, when are we going into those phases of like dormancy or hibernation? And like, it's best during those times to potentially fill up group programs or fill up things that have payment plans or longer payment plans, and cycling people into potentially building your audiences during those like dormant times versus full out selling a program or, pursuing something like that. So yeah, someone called me out on about plateauing, saving, then stressing. Yeah, I think like, so the whole thing when it comes to like plateauing, like us going off of like a little bit of a tangent here, like my thoughts when it comes to like plateauing is honestly, that's like just an upper limit. And that's like, a lot of times you'll hear me in my lives or in my communities or in my spaces talking about an internal set point. So like, we all naturally have internal set points, right? It's just what we have been regulated to experience, whether that be from our lived experience, from generational experiences handed down within our nervous system. But we do have these internal set points around, what feels good to earn, what feels good to have in our bank account. And it's super important for us to be reflective on like, what are those internal set points as we start to either plateau, or we start to like want to offload money, or we start to feel like it's unsafe to be holding money. Like, this is a normal thing. And so it's just about expanding that internal set point. You'll see like expanding your window of tolerance pretty much, right? Like, this is the language that's used when you're talking about like psychology. It's a window of tolerance of like what your nervous system can tolerate as being comfortable. Like, your window of tolerance or your internal set point is not like cemented, right? That's something you can change. You can expand that. You can expand to having more, which actually ties in really beautifully with like potentially the big desires you have and like the mindset work that's important to do when it comes to like not feeling guilty or shame or unsafe and like pursuing those desires or like those big goals. So I think when it comes to plateauing, like, I think that it's just like a normal thing. And it's more like, if you're able to just say like, oh yeah, this is a normal thing. I've hit like a new level. And so what have I done to expand myself to this next level anyways? I think the reframe that I'm about to provide when it comes to like the new desires, the new ways that you want to pursue something, or those next levels will be really helpful. So when it comes to like plateauing, right? And like, you're like, oh, I have these big desires. I have like next level desires that I want to achieve, right? When it comes to income, savings, spending, whatever it might be. And we start to like feel stressed out. We start to feel anxious. We start to feel like it's unsafe. It's unfamiliar. We've just hit a plateau, internal set point, window of tolerance, right? Like, that's what's happened. However, the reframe here to provide is that like, when we pull back and stop thinking about ourselves, right? And we actually start to conceptualize like, oh, what is, like, if we were to think about a flower, right, being planted, like a seed is planted, and that seed quietly demands, right? It demands the nutrients it needs. It demands the sunlight. It demands the water, right? Like, it's like, those are needs, right? Because it knows the like flower that it's meant to blossom into, right? Or like the seeds for an oak tree, right? That flower is not focusing on anyone else. It's not looking around at anyone else and being like, oh, by me taking these nutrients, I'm harming someone else. Or, well, why as a rose do I not look like a sunflower? Or, why as a flower do I not look like a tree, right? So like, what I'm saying here is like, when you start to understand and focus just in on yourself, right? When you start to be like, oh, these are my desires. This is what I want to achieve. I don't need to look over at someone else and look at their business and like what they're doing and have that entire experience distract me or make their business success mean anything about my own business success. It is purely allowed to be like about, what do I desire to achieve? We, of course, can take inspiration from other people's business models, their business strategy, how they have things set up. I'm not saying that you can't do that, right? You 100% can. What I am saying is, if you find yourself getting distracted or doubts being placed in your mind because you falling into comparison to someone else and someone else's desires and what they're achieving, and you're then saying what you have is not good enough and what you've achieved is not good enough in comparison to theirs, that's where I'm saying you need to like get some blinders on and just focus on your own growth, your own experience, and continue to demand what it is you desire, right? And so when we feel ourselves plateauing, what can be really helpful is like reminding yourself that you are safe, right? To continue growing, to continue being present, to continue being, loud on social media, and like better understanding, maybe taking some time to reflect as well of like, oh, is my body needing rest right now? Right? Like, is this actually a dormant season for me? And can I take this energy and encourage people to join my email list, to join my Facebook community, to join my Instagram, to follow me on YouTube, to build up my TikTok, whatever it is, right? Are those actually more accessible building ups that you can be doing right now in your business that will have an ROI in the future, right? Because if you build up your TikTok, if you're a creator on Instagram, if you build up your YouTube channel, those are income streams that can be built out over time, right? Or just in general, then having an audience that's excited to hear from you, that is warmed up, that wants to hear from your newsletters or your emails, right? So I think that it's really important, right? When we're thinking about these big desires and we notice that we're starting to feel guilt or shame about what it is we want, I want you to think about like, oh, does like a flower or tree ever feel guilty about the resources it needs to become its final evolution, right? So do you really need to feel guilt or shame about what it is you are experiencing, like being like, this is a desire which I have. And I personally believe that our desires are given to us by the divine, right? Like, desires are given to us by the divine as needs, right? And so what that means, right, is that like your desires are needs. That's how that works, right? So like, because desires are given to us by the divine, by the universal, they are therefore our needs. And when you start to perceive your desires as needs, you then are understanding, oh, these are just resources which I am, demanding from the universal, and I'm allowed to receive them, and I'm allowed to receive them safely. And it's safe to do so because I have received what I've received thus far, right? And I'm allowed to continue expanding. I'm allowed to continue growing. I'm allowed to continue having more than enough, right? And so this can really help combat the stickiness that comes into, oh, you can't have that much, right? You're not allowed to have more than enough. You're not allowed to have that, right? And so it can really help to combat like, oh, what would our world look like if we were all allowed to demand our desires, to perceive our desires as needs, and like not bring judgment upon them, right? To like not bring shame and judgment upon ourselves, to show ourselves that unconditional love and compassion around simply what we desire and have those desires become needs, right? Like how would our world look different? How would our business look different? How would our relationship with money look different? How would we be showing up differently? And so as we do this, right, it's these areas that we can start to reflect on and then change our actions, right? So it's like, oh, well, like if I was completely, comfortable with my desires of, wanting multiple houses, being a millionaire, right? Like I might show up differently on social media, right? I might show up in a louder way. I'm seeing in the comments, thank you, Eleanor, this is helpful. I'm so happy you're enjoying it, Belle. That's so fabulous. So like you may show up in a different way on social media, right? You may show up more on your social stories. You may give more of like a background or, a behind the scenes look. You may be more consistent. You may gain a certain level of, certainty within yourself of, no, it's okay for me to be selling. It's okay for me to be talking out loud. It's okay for people to know that I'm selling. It's okay for people to, know about my offers, and I want them to be a part of it. And I want people to transform their relationship with money. I want people to feel financially empowered. I want them to create greater financial freedom, right? For themselves. I want them to have more time freedom. And so these are all things that you start to become deeper and deeper in alignment with your own relationship, like your own money mindset and your own relationship with money and your own relationship with your own success, right? Because it's like the flower is never comparing itself to a tree. It's never even comparing itself to a different flower. It's like, oh no, these are my desires. These are the things I want. I'm not judging myself for wanting these at all. They are just simply what I need to become the final evolution of myself. And so I really want to encourage you, if you are, feeling these wants for really big desires, and you find yourself kind of like experiencing a stickiness, experiencing a feeling of like guilt or shame, or, who am I to want these things? This is going to be harmful to others. I want you to challenge that. I invite you into challenging that and saying like, oh, is this happening anywhere else in nature? Right? When we look at natural law, when we look at the natural experience of nature, like, is that what's happening? And it's not, right? Because when you look out in nature, nature is abundance in all forms, right? And so when we see that, it's like, oh, how can we bring that abundance into our own life, into our own experience? And so I think that is really transformative for us, right? When we actually start to see like, oh no, all of nature is abundant. I am also within nature, right? I am a creation within this universal system, and discovering like, oh, what does that new reality look like for me? So I'm seeing in the comments, I'm experiencing a shift in income post-divorce and gaining footing in my new reality. So well bragged. I think coming out of a divorce, I've definitely worked with a number of clients coming out of a divorce, and it is so important to figure out your financial relationship, the reality of being a sole earner after years of codependency. Yes, I think that's so important. And like just discovering your relationship with money, discovering your own relationship with abundance and like what is possible for you, I think is really, really transformative. And I am celebrating where you're at, what will happen, and the transformation to come. So just really celebrating that, Belle, in the comments. And so I invite you into thinking about, oh yeah, like what are the resources I need, right? I'm allowed to desire, to want what I'm thinking is more than enough, right? When really it's not more than enough. It's exactly what is right for you in the evolution of the person that you're meant to become, right? Just like the flower is demanding all of the things that it desires as wants, as needs, right? Like those things are needs because like they are what are needed for it to become its final evolution. The things that you want are needs for you to become your final evolution. And so I really invite you into that. And, to reflect on that in your own business goals and the intentions you're setting, your financial goals. If you want to work on this at a deeper level, if you want to learn, more sustainable financial strategies for your personal finances, for your business, if you want to go deeper into this exploration of your money mindset, discovering your money story, understanding kind of how to navigate these sticky feelings of like this inner rich bitch that like makes you feel like kind of cringy. If you want to explore what is your own luxury and what does it look like to flirt with that luxury, I really invite you to check out Feminine Finance Academy. I'd love to welcome any of you there. It's open for enrollment right now. Yesterday we had our first call and it was like so fabulous and I enjoyed it so much. There are payment plans available. This is my 6-month signature course, right? This is all about you figuring out how to create that intimacy, that devotional practice, that pleasure experience, that peaceful relationship with your money, and come out the other side with financial empowerment, with financial independence, and understanding how to manage your finances from both a strategic side and that mindset side to back it up, so that you really feel capable of facing any financial situation that comes your way. So if you're interested, just let me know in the comments. I'll definitely drop the link as well. And you can go ahead and check it out. And I'm just, super excited for these money chats and, consistently showing up here and like being able to engage with everyone on, these different topics of money strategy, of mindset, and like talking about these different topics that bubble up for folks. And I love the comments as well. As you can see, I'm happy to kind of go off topic based on comments and engagement. So if there are particular topics you'd like to see me talk about, feel free to drop them in the chat. Feel free to show up live. I come here every Tuesday at 2 Eastern Standard Time. So just pop on and drop some of your comments in the chat so that we can talk and like riff on these different topics. With that, I'll go ahead and see you next week. And if you have any particular topics you'd love me to speak on, go ahead and tag me in the comments and I'll put them in a list for next week. But with that, I'll see you next time. Bye.